So how did you get to FS1 then at that point? Because I mean, Houston it's a much bigger market than Kansas City, but it's not like, I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a place that has a super passionate sports radio audience. Like
No, it
you're
doesn't.
not doing double digits in
No,
ratings in
no,
Houston.
no, 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 no. I mean, it's the fourth biggest market in America, but it's not the fourth best sports market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of directly correlated. The colder your city, the better the sports radio ratings. And you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Miami, Houston, Dallas is the outlier. Dallas has huge numbers, but
Yep.
LA's those places. Meanwhile, Philly, Boston, Cleveland, Kansas City, New York, those places do really well. So that it is a long, kind of complicated story. I'll just tell the short version of it. I had done some fill-in stuff on Fox Sports Radio. It was 2016. I wanted to. My wife's from California. I wanted to be in. She's from Sacramento, but I wanted to be in California, and I went and pitched on my own to the head of ESPN LA and the heads of Fox Sports Radio, which is based in LA, but also has a big flagship in LA. Like, hey, I should have a show. And ESPN Radio, the guy there was super nice. Max Kellerman was nice to me. He was, doing a show there. And I had known him a little bit, but they didn't have any openings. Fox Sports Radio potentially did. But they were getting ready to announce that Colin, Colin hadn't yet come over yet.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do more stuff kind of hand in glove with FS1. And so they were open, I think, to hiring me, but they wanted to see, I think if they hired me, was there a chance my show would get simulcast because they knew they were about to do a simulcast with Colin. And I ended up meeting with the then head of FS1, Jamie Horowitz, just trying to get him to sign off on Fox Sports Radio hiring me. And, like I said, I'll give the short version of it. The short version of it is at the end of the meeting, he was like, why have you not tried to get me to hire you? I was like, because I don't do TV, I do radio. And he was like, I think you could do TV. And then I met with the guy who's now my boss, Charlie Dixon. He and I bonded over the fact that I had been on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as a kid and won 50 grand. And I ended up auditioning 9 times, flying out to LA, doing a show, going back to Houston. And then around the Super Bowl, so I guess this would be January of 2016, ESPN offered me a job and FS1 offered me a job. And through the great wisdom and advice of my wife, I went with FS1, and it's been, one of the best decisions I ever made.
ESPN's offer was for radio or TV?
ESPN's offer was it initially was an unknown radio show local in Los Angeles with weekly television appearances. Probably my guess is Around the Horns, something like that. They then at the very end told me what the radio show would be in LA, and I don't remember who had it then, so I'm not going to say what time slot, but a major time slot in LA. And it's so funny how life works. I accepted the offer from FS1 on a Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning, sent an email saying, I hadn't signed a contract, sent an email saying, deal's done. And Wednesday morning, the ESPN folks called me and were like, hey, we finally have it locked down. We know exactly what show you'd be doing. And because of the show you'd be doing, it's actually a little more money than we thought. And I was, if I'm being totally honest, absolutely crushed. Because my whole goal was to get a big time radio show in LA and get on TV a little bit. And I told the guy, and to his credit, he didn't push me on it. And I told him, I was like, listen, I accepted last night. And while I haven't signed anything, I I told him yes, and I'm not going, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go back on that. It's not how I do business. And I thought I had made a grievous error. I was so, I tell you guys, I cried. I got off the phone and I cried. And I was like, why, just wait to send that email. Like, what'd you do? This was what, and I was nervous because I hadn't done TV.
Right.
And it's just funny how life works out. 6 months later, the fall of 16, I started April 20th, 2016. 6 months after that, ESPN did a massive round of layoffs. And I'm pretty confident I would have been one of those people. You know what I mean? Just because I had been brand new, whatever. Meanwhile, around that exact same time, FS1 was talking to me about moving to New York to front First Things First with Chris Carter. And you know what I mean? And then the best thing for me. And I like the fact, I really like the fact, this is where, I don't know if ego is the right word, but I think it's really cool that of all the people on or who have been on FS1, the only two that are, basically, FS1 products are me and Joy. You know what I mean? Everyone, the former athletes are in a different category. You know what I mean? Almost like their original employer was the Philadelphia Eagles or whomever. But everyone else kind of came through the pipeline. Like I look at FS1 as the place that took a chance on me, that developed me. And so, and Joy got hired the same week I did. And Joy and I were in a very similar spot, which is, she was in from local radio in Miami. I was in from local radio in Houston, and both of our families had stayed. My wife and kids were in Houston. I was commuting on the weekends. Joy's family was in Miami. She was commuting when she could. And she and I both were out there like, I guess we're going to try this thing out. And so, and she's one of my favorite people. And so I just think, that's been a long time. What's that been? 8 years?
Yeah.
8 years. This is the longest I've ever worked anywhere. So yeah, it's great.